All right, so we're diving into hip-hop today,
Oh, yeah.
and we're looking at the top 10's list of the top 10 greatest hip-hop producers of all time.
Always a good one.
It's a subjective topic,
Oh, absolutely.
but that's what makes these lists so fun to kind of pick apart,
For
right?
sure, for sure.
You've got these titans of the genre all in one place, and we've
Okay.
got Dr. Dre,
Of course.
DJ Premier, Kanye, Jay Dilla,
Huge names.
all vying for that top spot. It's like, how do you even compare?
It's like apples and oranges, and then, I don't know,
Right.
like a spaceship built by Madlib, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's wild.
It's a mix of styles.
It is.
What I think is really fascinating at this list, though,
Okay.
is it's user-generated.
Right.
So it gives us a peek into what the fans
Yeah.
really value in a hip-hop producer.
Yeah, you get to see, like, are we talking pure skill,
Right.
commercial success, influence on other producers?
Exactly.
The comments section on this list,
Oh, yeah.
it's a war zone.
It's a bloodbath, but
It is, which is
that's what we're here for, right?
exactly. That's what we want for a good deep dive.
Exactly.
Gotta have that debate.
So let's jump right into the top 3.
All right.
No surprise here. Dr. Dre sits at number 1.
The big dog. I mean,
Yeah, think The Chronic, Doggy Style, all the work with Snoop and Eminem and 50 Cent.
a pioneer for sure.
He's a force, but I'm curious.
Oh, okay.
Does his later work hold up as well?
Right.
Because some of the comments were saying he maybe peaked early.
That's the thing with Dre, right? Like, his impact on the West Coast sound is undeniable.
For sure.
But you look at someone like DJ Premier at number 2,
Okay.
and he's maybe commercially not quite as massive,
Right.
but he's maintained that really crisp, sample-heavy boom bap style.
For decades.
decades.
And his drums are practically a science.
It's surgical the way he chops those samples.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Premier is like the gold standard for that classic sound, too.
Totally. Working with everyone from Gangstar to Nas.
Oh, yeah. But one comment I saw really got me thinking.
Okay.
They were saying Premier represents,
Yeah.
the real hardcore and underground stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, what even defines underground anymore?
It's a really good question.
Is it about sales?
Yeah.
The sound? Is
Right.
it something else entirely?
You know, it's a really blurry line.
Yeah.
I mean, even Premier, with that gritty sound, he's worked with mainstream giants like Jay-Z.
He has.
So I think maybe underground in this context is more about an artist's ethos, you know?
Okay.
Like a commitment to a certain aesthetic, a rawness,
Right.
even if they achieve commercial success.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's more about the attitude than the actual numbers.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, and then we've got RZA at number 3,
Oh,
the mastermind.
the architect behind the Wu-Tang Clan's whole sonic universe.
His production it's almost cinematic, you know?
It is.
It's like you're stepping into a whole world when you listen to a Wu-Tang album. You really are.
And some people say that world building
Yeah.
is even more artistically valuable than, say, Dre's string of hits.
Okay.
It's an interesting argument, right?
It is, yeah.
Do you need a classic full-length album
Right.
to be considered a top producer?
Or can a handful of iconic singles get you there?
That's a tough one.
That's a really tough question.
It is. It is.
Would you rather have Dre's production on Nothing But a G Thing
Okay.
or RZA's work on Liquid Swords in its entirety?
You're really making me choose.
I know, it's tough.
It's a good problem to have, I guess.
It is. All right, moving down the list,
Okay.
we hit Kanye West at number 4.
Oh,
A
Kanye.
name that sparks a lot of strong reactions these
To
days.
say the least.
To say the very least, but
Yeah.
I mean, the talent is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
His trajectory is so interesting, though.
It really is. He went from those soulful sample-based beats on, early stuff like Through the Wire.
That college dropout era
Yeah, exactly.
to the maximalist
Yeah.
genre-bending sounds of something like All of the Lights.
Totally different vibe.
Completely different, so
It makes you wonder, right?
yeah.
Has he pushed the boundaries of hip-hop production?
Or has he strayed too far from its roots?
That's the Kanye question, isn't it?
It really is, some people see him as a genius,
Sure.
others as an attention seeker,
Right.
but sonically, his impact is undeniable.
Oh, huge. He's influenced so many producers.
And speaking of sonic explorers,
Okay.
we have Madlib at number 5.
The master of samples.
He takes sampling to a whole other level.
It's like he can hear music in things that the rest of us just walk by.
I know.
And then he flips it into these incredible beats.
I know. It's amazing.
It's not just about finding those obscure records, though.
Right.
It's how he manipulates those samples.
Yeah.
He's blending jazz, psych rock, whatever he finds
I know. It's crazy.
into these head-nodding beats.
He's a crate digger's crate digger.
He is. He's...
Like, take Montara with Erykah Badu.
Oh, such a good track.
The way he flips that Grant Green guitar sample,
It's pure magic.
it's pure magic.
He didn't just sample it. He created a whole mood with it.
He did. He really did.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
At number 6, we have a legend whose influence
Okay.
is probably debated less than his placement on the list.
I'm intrigued.
Jay Dilla.
Dilla, of course.
His sound is almost impossible to describe,
It's true.
but you know it
Oh, you know it when you hear it.
when you hear it. Yeah.
That Dilla feel.
And it's interesting because his impact
Yeah.
is less about
I think so, yeah.
specific hits
Mhm.
and more about his overall approach to production.
Absolutely. Like, he took the MPC sampler and made it sing.
Yes.
It's the way he uses swing, that slight rhythmic push and pull.
Yeah.
It gives his drums that signature Dilla feel.
It does.
And so many producers after him
I know.
cite him as an inspiration.
Yeah.
Even if their music sounds nothing like his on the surface, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he unlocked this new way of thinking about rhythm.
Totally. He was a pioneer.
He was. He really was.
Okay, so we're going to move into this next tier of producers
Okay. Sounds good.
where I think some of the debates get really, really heated.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Okay, at number 7,
Okay.
we have Pete Rock,
Oh, a
master of soulful, head-nodding beats,
Yeah.
especially during that golden era.
Absolutely. That's Pete Rock's domain.
He was king in that era.
It's all about layering, you know?
Oh,
Like, he doesn't just sample a loop.
Yeah.
He stacks drums and horns and vocals,
Yeah.
creates this wall of sound that's super complex,
Yeah.
but also really cohesive.
It's amazing how he does that.
It is.
You listen to TROY,
Oh, classic.
the way those different elements weave together, it's pure sonic tapestry.
He's like a musical architect.
He is. He's like building these intricate structures with sound.
Totally. And then you've got Havoc at number 8,
Oh, yeah, one half of Mobb Deep.
bringing that raw, gritty New York sound. Havoc's all about atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, he uses sparse samples, distorted bass,
Yeah.
often leaves a lot of space in his beats, you know?
Yeah.
And it creates this sense of tension, this darkness that fits perfectly with Mobb Deep's street narratives.
Absolutely. Like, take Shook One's Way to 2.
Oh, yeah.
It's menacing just from the production alone.
It's true.
Like, you can practically feel the Queensbridge streets listening to his work.
It's like you're right there with them.
Yeah, you're transported.
For sure.
All right, at number 9,
Oh.
we have Eric B.,
Oh, the legend.
who, alongside Rakim, just changed the game in the late 80s.
Oh, yeah, they were groundbreaking.
Their style is all about minimalism and precision, letting Rakim's complex rhymes take center stage.
Exactly. It's all about space for those rhymes to breathe.
Yes.
And Eric B's beats, they prove that less can be more.
Yeah.
You know, they were stripped down, relying heavily on drum machines, those
Yeah.
iconic James Brown samples.
So good.
But they were incredibly effective.
They were-
Listen to Paid in Full.
So, yeah.
The way that beat just bumps, it's hypnotic.
Yeah.
Like, he provided the perfect canvas for Rakim's lyrical mastery.
It's proof that you don't need a million layers to create a classic.
Sometimes simplicity is key.
Okay, rounding out the top 10, we have a slightly controversial choice.
Okay, I'm listening.
Eminem. Interesting.
Now, I know he's primarily known for his rapping,
Of course, one of the greatest.
but he's produced a lot of his own music, too.
That's true. He's very hands-on with his sound.
He is.
It's definitely sparked some debate, his inclusion on this list.
It has.
I mean, he's not a traditional producer in the same way as some of these other guys,
right.
but he's undeniably pushed the sonic boundaries of hip-hop,
Yeah.
blending in rock, pop, even orchestral elements into his work.
He's not afraid to experiment.
No, he's not, which I think has influenced a lot of artists who came after him,
Yeah,
who are also blurring those genre lines.
for sure.
Like take Lose Yourself, for example.
That driving rock-infused beat,
Yeah.
that's a far cry from classic boom bap.
Yeah, it is.
But it's still undeniably Eminem, undeniably hip-hop.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our top 10, but this list goes deeper.
Oh, yeah, there's more.
It goes much deeper.
The top 10s also has these categories for newcomers and contenders.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting, right?
It does, because we're talking about artists who are either pushing the genre forward in new ways,
Right.
or maybe they're sparking those passionate debates about their place in the hierarchy of hip-hop production.
Exactly.
We're talking about people like LP, Ninth Wonder, Timbaland,
big names.
big names, yeah, who might not be universally considered legends just yet,
Right.
but they're definitely making waves.
And then there's some glaring omissions from the top 10
Oh, yeah, there always are.
that I think sparked some really heated discussions in the comments.
Tell me more.
Like P. Diddy.
Dude.
He's got a huge legacy. But his production skills are often debated.
Right.
It's interesting because this list really highlights just how subjective it all is.
Oh, totally.
What we consider greatness in hip-hop production.
Yeah, what are we really measuring?
That's the question, right?
It is.
Is it about technical skills?
Yeah.
Innovation?
Mm-hmm.
Cultural impact?
Right.
Something else entirely?
Yeah, maybe it's a combination of all of those things.
Maybe it is, yeah.
And I think that's what we need to unpack
Yeah.
as we delve into these newcomers and contenders and see if we can figure out,
Right.
what really makes a producer stand out in this ever-evolving landscape of hip-hop.
Let's do it.
So we've explored that top 10, but now let's go beyond those established names
Yeah.
into a territory where the lines of greatness get a little blurrier.
I like it. A little more murky.
Yeah, murky, exactly.
Yeah.
And the top 10s has these two interesting categories, right? The newcomers and the contenders.
Yeah, this is where we can really dissect what's brewing
Yeah.
in the current landscape of hip-hop production.
Totally. These are the artists who are on the edge, either pushing the boundaries of the genre or maybe sparking debate about whether they even belong in the conversation.
About their place in the hierarchy, yeah.
Exactly. It's
Wow.
interesting. It is. Take LP, for example.
Okay, yeah.
He's been in the game for over 2 decades.
Yeah, Company Flow, Run the Jewels.
Right. And he's often labeled experimental.
Yeah.
But what I think is fascinating is he's blended those left field tendencies
Yeah.
with an undeniable knack for crafting bangers.
He has, yeah, he makes hits.
He does. It's never at the expense of catchiness,
It's not like he's just throwing in weird sounds just to be weird.
Exactly.
There's a purpose.
There's a method to the madness.
The tightrope walk a lot of underground producers struggle with.
They do. It's can you push boundaries,
Yeah.
but still connect with a wider audience? And I
Yeah.
think LP's kind of figured it out.
He's got the formula.
He does. And then you've got Ninth Wonder.
Oh, Ninth Wonder.
Who's so deeply rooted in that soulful, sample-based sound.
Yeah.
But he brings a crispness,
Yes.
a modern edge to it.
It's clean.
It is, his drums knock.
Yeah.
But they're not just mimicking that classic boom bap.
No, it's something fresh.
Yeah, there's something new about it.
Honestly, sometimes when I hear a Ninth Wonder beat, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I wish I could make a beat like that.
I know, right? It sounds so effortless.
It does, it does.
It's he takes those familiar elements,
Yeah.
those warm samples, the chopped up vocals,
Yeah.
but he arranges them in this way that feels both nostalgic and new at the same time.
It's like comfort food, but with a twist.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. He's a master of what we could call recontextualization,
Okay.
He's taking those classic hip-hop textures,
Yeah.
but he's reimagining them for a new generation.
I like that.
Yeah, and speaking of reimagining sounds, we got to talk about Timbaland.
Oh, but Timbaland. Yeah.
His inclusion on this list as a contender is interesting
It is.
because, some might argue he deserves a spot in that top 10.
Yeah, I can see that.
Timbaland's a fascinating case, right? He came up in the 90s, but his sound always felt ahead of its time.
It did, yeah.
Those stuttering beats, those futuristic synths.
Yeah.
He was blending hip-hop with electronic music and R&B in a way that just nobody else was doing at the time.
He revolutionized the sound of pop music, too.
He did. His work with Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, iconic.
Very huge.
He was building these intricate soundscapes that were both catchy and really out there.
So a sonic architect.
He wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
No.
And that's what makes him such a significant figure in hip-hop production, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's the glaring omission that caused a lot of debate in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
T. Diddy.
Diddy, yeah.
Yeah, his legacy is...
It's complicated.
It is, because he's known more for, his business acumen.
Yeah, his persona.
Exactly, more than, his actual beat-making skills.
Right.
But some people argue that his contributions to hip-hop are undeniable.
Especially with Biggie.
Especially with Biggie, yeah. And I think Diddy's approach was just different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was more of a curator,
Oh, yeah.
a master of putting together the right team,
Yeah.
the right producers, the right songwriters, the right artists.
To create hits.
To create hits, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So his influence lies more in, like, shaping the overall sound and direction of a project
Okay.
rather than, like, actually crafting the beats himself.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he was more like a conductor.
Like leading an orchestra.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
But even beyond these specific names,
Yeah.
this list got me thinking about, like, the bigger picture
Okay.
of hip-hop's sonic evolution.
It's huge.
It is. It is. How do we even begin to, like, trace those threads
Yep. I know.
from the early days to where we are now?
It's a good question.
It is. It's a complex tapestry.
Yeah.
But I think it's helpful to look at it through, like, the lens of eras
Okay.
and regional influences.
Okay, I like that.
You know, so we can trace those roots back to, like, the Bronx block parties in the 70s,
Oh, yeah.
where DJs like Cool Herc,
Yeah, the founding fathers.
yeah, they were isolating those break beats.
Creating those early hip-hop grooves.
Exactly. Those were the building blocks.
Yeah.
And then you have people like Grandmaster Flash coming along,
Yeah.
and they started incorporating drum machines
Yeah.
and more electronic elements, like
Yeah.
pushing the sound beyond just looping breaks.
Taking it to that next level. Yeah.
Exactly. And then in the 80s, you have the emergence of what we call, like, the golden era
Yeah, the golden era.
of hip-hop production with figures like Marley Marl
Yeah.
really pioneering the art of sampling.
Yeah, and this is where we get those classic boom bap beats, right?
Exactly. The sound that still resonates today. Yeah.
That blueprint for like what we think of as classic hip hop.
But even within that era, you had regional variations.
Oh, absolutely.
Like emerging, right?
Yeah.
Like on the West Coast.
Right.
You had Dr. Dre crafting that G-Funk sound.
Ooh, the smooth grooves.
Yeah, those heavy synths, those deep bass lines.
Like Dre's use of the synthesizer was game-changing.
It was.
He took those Parliament Funkadelic influences
Yeah.
and brought them into the world of hip-hop.
I never thought about that connection, but it makes sense.
It does. And it created a sound that was both futuristic and like deeply rooted in Black music history.
Interesting.
And then down south, you have producers like Manny Fresh and Organized Noise
Oh, yeah.
bringing those bouncy, bass-heavy beats
Yeah,
that reflected the energy of their region.
absolutely. Every part of the country kind of put its own spin on the sound.
Yeah, it's amazing how hip-hop can adapt, you know?
Yeah.
It's a genre that's constantly absorbing new influences.
And reinterpreting them in these, like, really fresh and exciting ways.
And as technology advanced, so did the possibilities for production, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Samplers got more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Software like Pro Tools emerged.
Yeah.
Producers could suddenly create like entire soundscapes within the digital realm.
It was like the sonic palette exploded.
It really did.
Suddenly you have producers like Kanye and Timbaland
Yeah.
blending genres, incorporating orchestral elements,
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of what a hip-hop beat could even sound like.
It was a sonic revolution.
It was. And alongside those, like, mainstream innovators,
Yeah.
you had the underground scene thriving, right?
Yeah.
With people like Dilla and Madlib taking sampling to new heights.
Pushing the limits.
They weren't just looking for loops, they were digging for, like, obscure sounds.
Yeah.
Manipulating them, creating these, like, intricate sonic collages.
They were sonic archaeologists.
They were unearthing these hidden treasures and repurposing them for a new generation.
And that spirit of experimentation continues today.
Oh, for sure.
You look at producers like Flying Lotus.
Yeah, Hudson Mohawk blending hip-hop with electronica, jazz, ambient music.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's never ending, this evolution.
It's never ending. And the exciting part is we can't predict where it's going next.
We can't. But one thing's for sure.
Yeah.
We've seen from this list, from our discussion,
Yeah.
greatness in hip-hop production. It takes many forms.
It really does.
It's not just about technical skill
Whoa.
or having
Yeah.
the hottest beats on the radio.
Mhm.
It's about innovation,
Yeah.
pushing boundaries, creating something that resonates with listeners on a deeper level.
And sometimes it's about capturing a moment in time, you know?
Yeah.
Reflecting the sounds and the energy of a particular place, a particular culture.
That brings up an interesting point, though. We've been talking about this list
Yeah.
and hip-hop production from, primarily an American perspective.
That's true. We have.
But hip-hop is a global phenomenon now.
It is. It really is. hip-hop has transcended borders.
Yeah.
And it's been reinterpreted and reimagined in countless ways.
It's crazy.
So for our final segment, I think we should explore that.
Okay.
Like how hip-hop production has evolved in different parts of the world,
I like it.
bringing those unique flavors and perspectives to this ever-evolving art form,
Yeah, let's go global. Okay, so we're going global with this.
taking it worldwide.
Where do we even begin to unpack the impact of hip-hop production
It's a big question.
around the world? Like, it's this massive interconnected web of influences now.
It's incredible how hip-hop has gone beyond its American roots,
Yeah.
connected with so many different cultures,
So play.
and each region has adapted the sound,
Yeah.
added their own flavors, their own perspectives.
Let's start with a region known for its precision and technical mastery.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Japan.
Japan.
I've
Okay.
always been blown away by the rhyme schemes and flows in Japanese hip-hop.
Oh, yeah, so intricate.
It's like they took lyrical dexterity to a whole other level.
It's true. Japanese MCs have this incredible ability to, like, bend words and rhythms in ways
Yeah.
you just don't really hear in American hip-hop.
They don't.
And the production often reflects that, too.
Okay.
You'll hear traditional Japanese instruments
Wow.
blended with hard-hitting drums,
Really?
creating this fusion of, like, ancient and modern sounds.
That's so cool. It's like they've woven their own cultural heritage
Yeah,
into the fabric of hip-hop.
exactly. Exactly.
And then you have France,
France, okay.
where hip-hop, much like in the U.S.,
Yeah.
emerged as this voice for the marginalized.
Right, right.
But French hip-hop just has this distinct vibe.
It does. It does. I think French producers,
Yeah.
they have this real knack for blending genres.
Yeah,
You hear funk, reggae, North African music.
Wow.
It's all swirling together.
That's
It
great.
reflects that multicultural landscape of France.
Makes sense.
This melting pot of influences.
And lyrically, too.
Oh, yeah.
French hip-hop often delves into
So,
social justice, identity, navigating a multicultural society.
the themes. Yeah, it's powerful.
It's like they took that core of hip-hop, that social commentary aspect, and amplified it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Addressing those issues that are specific to their context.
And speaking of powerful, we can't talk about global hip-hop
Yeah.
without mentioning South Africa.
South Africa. Oh, yeah.
I mean, their music has been intertwined
It's
with
inseparable. Yeah.
the struggle against apartheid,
Right.
the fight for social justice.
For sure.
It's incredible.
South African hip-hop is a force.
It is.
It's got that raw energy, that urgency
Yeah.
that reflects their lived experience.
And sonically, too.
Oh, it's so interesting.
And unique.
You hear those heavy Kwaito rhythms,
Okay.
traditional Zulu chants,
Wow.
and then mixed with those hard-hitting drums and samples that are so classic hip-hop.
It's a potent mix.
It is a potent mix.
It's like they forged this sound
Yeah.
that's both uniquely South African,
Yeah.
but also universally resonant.
It is. It is.
And this is just scratching the surface, right?
Well, barely.
There's so much more to explore.
We could spend hours talking about Brazilian hip-hop,
I know.
UK grime, Cuban rap, Korean hip-hop.
It goes on and on.
List goes on.
And each region has kind of taken those core elements of hip-hop.
Yeah, the rhythm, the rhyme, the social commentary,
Yeah.
and turned it into something that reflects their own cultural identity.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It is.
We started this whole deep dive
I know, right?
talking about this top 10 list,
A simple list.
but this
What's
conversation
on beyond that?
has blown up.
It has.
It's really a testament to the fact that hip-hop,
Yeah,
it's more than just a genre of music.
so much more.
It's a culture. It's a movement.
It's a global language
Yeah, it's a language.
that keeps evolving, keeps adapting,
Yeah,
reflecting the diversity and the creative spirit of humanity.
I like that. And it all comes back to those producers, right?
It does. It
The
does.
sonic architects who are constantly
Always
pushing the boundaries,
experimented,
experimenting with sound.
shaping the sound of the world.
Yeah, whether they're crafting those classic boom bap beats
Or those futuristic Timbaland soundscapes.
or those intricate Mad Lib collages.
Those hard-hitting South African grooves.
Yeah,
These producers are the heartbeat of hip-hop.
they're the engine.
They're the ones driving the culture forward.
This has been a really incredible journey.
It has. It has.
It's left me feeling inspired and humbled.
I feel the same way.
Inspired by the creativity of these producers.
Yeah,
And humbled by just the sheer scope of it all, you know?
absolutely. There's just so much to discover.
Like we've only scratched the surface.
We have, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
There's always more to explore, so
Digging.
Keep those ears open, those minds curious, those hearts ready for the next sonic adventure.
Because the beat goes on.
It does, it does.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive
We'll catch you next time.
for another sonic exploration.